Welcome back to another episode of The Playbook. I almost said Playbook, Run Club there. Just finished up today, a run club. Last 2 weeks, there has been over 30, between 32 and 35 people at the run club. And last week, it put a few things in perspective for me. Now, I don't know if the turnout has gone in conjunction with us offering free coffee and free ice baths after the run club, but there has been a solid turnout lately. And when I put up the post today with photos, I was reflecting on something that one of the staff members at the cafe that we go to, he's a new guy, and he was like, "Are you guys a run club, or like are you you meet for like connections?" I was like, "What do you mean?" He was like networking, and I was like, "No, definitely not, definitely not." Like, I was like, Dubai has enough networking events. This isn't a networking event at all. And it put things into perspective. So when I was putting up the post, I had to think about, clarifying that, because what we aren't is we're not a networking run club, or, an upsell into our product run club, or a status run club, or we're going to sell you our electrolytes or our protein balls run club. We're not a business run club. We're not an entrepreneur run club. We're not anything. We don't expect anything from you. It's not set up because for business reasons. And this ties back into a conversation that me and Liam had on the podcast a few months ago. And this was around a meeting that we had with a guy who was, it was the early stages of the run club, and we were posting some of the stuff in his Facebook group just to try and get some people to come. And he wanted essentially for us to partner up with him, and he wanted to understand our run club more. So at the time, like we'd 100 maybe people in the group chat, and we were probably having 10 to 15 people at the run. And he was like, "Lads, why are you doing this?" And we were just saying, we just wanted to do a run club. Like, we just want to set it up. We just want to meet other people. He was like, "No, but why? Like what's the reason? Like, there has to be an underlying reason as to why you're doing this." Like, and we're like, "No, we're just doing it for the sake of doing it, not from what we're going to get out of it." And that didn't compute. Like, that didn't add up in his head, because in his head, it's like, there must be a funnel. There must be a reason. These people have to, filter into something that you're trying to sell. Like, it has to be a funnel into a product that you're trying to upsell at the end of the run club. It's like, fuck and stop. Like, just please stop. And I got visibly annoyed that he was pitching some ideas to us, and I was like, "I've no interest in this whatsoever." And because it's far too common in this world and this city that I can speak about, in this city, that nothing is free. And things might look free on the outside, but they're not free, because somebody's trying to get something from you. It's transactional. It's a transaction. It's a give and take. It's a two-way street. It's oh, you turn up to our run club, so you must do this. It's like, it's not that at all. We're just trying to foster an environment where people can come and not feel as alone in this city, not feel like they're an outcast or an outlier, or feel like that, this city isn't meant for them, or they don't like this city, or, they don't feel at home. It's like, we're trying to solve all of those issues for people, and we're trying to set up a community where people can come and go for a run and a chat, and then they can meet up outside of the run, because that's what this has been for so many people. And a lot of clarity has come for me lately with this, because I can get so into a rut in terms of what I'm currently doing. So much so, like, I think what I was going to speak about today was, I think, just a bit of a mental check-in for me. And no real format. There's no real format ever for these podcasts. Again, it's not. This isn't a business idea. This isn't me trying to be the biggest podcast in the world. It's me trying to share my thoughts, my journey, and maybe somebody out there might be getting some value from it, like some people have been. And It can be about real estate. It doesn't have to be just about real estate, because people are multifaceted. It's like, just because I am a real estate agent doesn't mean all I have to talk about is property on a podcast. It's like, there's more to people than that. People are a bit more unique, and I like unique people, and I like people with more to them, or they've got an edge to them, and they are themselves, regardless of what the world thinks of that. And those are the truly respectable people. And that's what this is, just me being myself and just sharing some of the things I want to share. Because chatting with somebody today at the Run Club is like, I haven't checked the views in 3 months. I don't know how many views I'm getting, or clicks, or listens, or whatever. And there's definitely better ways in which that I could run the podcast, and I could have, a hook, or certain guests, or, make short form content. But it's just like, it gets a bit tiring sometimes. It gets a bit tiring. And today and this last 2 weeks, I've kind of felt a bit misaligned in terms of what I'm currently doing. Like, I can easily get into a rut. Like, I can just zone in and do the same work for a long period of time without any regard for if I actually like it or not, without any regard of if it's difficult, if it's easy. It's without any regard of what I actually think of. What I think of it, I just do it regardless. And that's being conditioned into me just from doing it for a long period of time. And there's a lot of activation energy with that. It's like, for so long, like, if you're in any industry, you just have to work hard and you will get halfway there. You will get halfway there, but it's not going to get you the full way. So if you don't have some enjoyment within that industry, within that job, within that field, then yeah, you can get that activation energy and you can get to a decent position. But then after that, once you've reached that milestone and the goalposts move, which they always will, it's going to be a question of what's next. And I've battled with this every now and again. And back in November, I took a bit of a wobble where I was unsure about kind of what I was doing, where I was going. I felt like, I took a bit of stock and was like, where am I actually going? And that can almost lead into this internal strife for me. And I felt like I haven't really been connected with myself for this last while. But what and I was filled with doubts where, like, other opportunities would look attractive. And one of my goals for this year was to stay on track, and I've set it here, and climb the mountain and see the peak for myself, and then understand if it was a mountain that worth climbing or not. However, every now and again, these kind of thoughts creep up, because unfortunately I can't switch off my mind. I can't turn it off. I can't tune it out. There's moments in which that when things are getting not difficult, but I think when things are getting very mundane, it's kind of like, well, what's next? Like, what am I actually striving for? Am I actually progressing here? Am I actually learning more here? Or does it feel like I'm just a busy fool, where it feels like I'm busy, it feels like I'm doing stuff, but I'm not actually doing that much? So I had a chat with Liam, and he had sent me over a clip from a previous podcast that we'd done. I don't know what episode, maybe, I have no idea what episode it was. I'm not even going to try and find it, but it was a Q&A between me and Liam, probably about 10 to 12 months ago. And in that, the question Liam asked me was, how do you face uncertainty? And my answer was giving advice, almost, so to speak. And as I was saying this, when I was watching back the clip, I was like, shit, that's good advice. Like, I might actually take that, like, I might use that. But I'm just like, wait, that was me saying it. Like, I was giving advice to somebody else, but I can't take this advice for myself when I'm feeling that uncertainty. I can't be okay with that. I can't, like, it's so easy to give people advice about what they should and should not do, and in given this scenario, what they should do in order to get past it. But as humans, when we face that issue ourselves, we might necessarily take the advice that we were given to somebody else. And we always tend to forget some of our held beliefs on a certain matter because it could be months and since which somebody has spoke to you about that. And you don't always hold the same beliefs, and they're changing. And this is part and parcel of why the podcast is set up, so I can capture those thoughts, capture those beliefs in that moment. And there's many thoughts and beliefs that I've held where only from hindsight of me being able to look back at the podcast and be like, I don't actually even, I don't agree with that anymore. Which is interesting, because you convince yourself that you've always held the same beliefs and they've never changed. But being able to call myself out like that puts it into perspective. But I was feeling like it's easy to say what you should do with uncertainty or doubt, and the fact that you have to focus on the things that you can control and forget the rest, and that you can understand that level of uncertainty and doubt will always be there, and you'll never be sure of a thing until you have the hindsight to prove if you were right or wrong. And just asking yourself, have I faced this uncertainty before? Have I faced this doubt before? If the answer is yes, and you're saying, have I come out the other side okay, then what's not to say that the same is going to be in this current situation? But implementing that and putting that into practice is completely different. So that advice and listening back to that kind of made me realize that maybe the reason as to why I was feeling that way was because I wasn't actually connected with myself and what I actually wanted. For a long time, I've let things go and go to the sidelines in terms of meditation, breath work, and journaling. I've justified it because my training has been so intense. It's almost like a full-time job. At the moment, last week, I did 15 hours of training, including the gym, where it was 120 kilometers on the bike, nearly 8 kilometers in the pool, and over 30 kilometers running. Like 15 hours, that's a part-time job. I used to work that when I was in college. I used to come home for the weekend and work 2 7.5 8 hour shifts, and that's the amount of time I'm putting into fucking training at the moment to chase this audacious goal, to try and improve on my previous time and my position in my previous triathlon. And it's self-inflicted, but because I've been so focused on that, and been so focused on work and just been completely all in on real estate, it has meant that I've justified not having certain things in my life. And as Liam was saying to me, you can't pour from an empty cup. And it feels like I've been trying to pour from an empty cup recently and not really taking the time for myself, because I'm the person who is there for people in all domains nearly. But it's kind of like, well, who's showing up for me, or am I even showing up for myself in certain moments? So I spoke to Liam and I said, I'm putting it out there that every day I'm gonna do my journaling and my breath work, and this is my commitment. This is my social commitment. This is my being held accountable by somebody else, my social accountability. So what I've started to do is what's called morning pages. And morning pages is something that I had heard on a podcast months and months ago. And when I was feeling like that I didn't really know what I wanted, that I was kind of distracted, and that faraway hills are greener, but I didn't even know if I wanted that opportunity or not. And even if I excelled in my current position to the highest degree, it's like, would I even want that future for myself? And that's a lot, that's an internal chaos. That's a kind of, having a lot of doubt there. So my answer to that, and my answer to other people who might be currently going through it, is, for me, what's been super beneficial is morning pages. And I've done it for probably only 10 days now, 10 days in a row. But what I do is that I have an empty journal, just blank pages. There's no format, there's no gratitude, there's no daily affirmations, there's no what went well or what can be improved today, which has its benefits. But for me, it can become like such a tick box exercise where I just scribble in whatever without any thought into it. And that's what happens with my previous journals. But with this one, with the morning pages, all I'm doing is opening the journal first thing in the morning, straight out of bed, which is supposed to be recommended, and sitting down at my desk and just writing 2 pages. They're nearly A4 pages, just 2 pages of absolute mental dump, just unloading exactly what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling. You know, it can be anything. It can be, and some mornings there's nothing, and that's great because it feels like I've decluttered, like that I've emptied the wardrobe of my internal thoughts. And some mornings it can be a thought that I woke up with, or something that I'm struggling with, or how I slept, or my plans for the day, or it can be anything. But what that does for me, it just dumps out all of the clutter that's held up in my head, that all of this noise, because some people, including myself, have this overactive mind of continual noise, like continual noise, and it gets tiring, and it gets so tiring. And I can find myself throwing myself into stuff like 15 hours of training or 55 hours of just non-stop work per week in order to almost quieten it, because I can't think of anything else. And these aren't negative thoughts, but it's like business ideas, and it's like what I can do here, and it's like how I can improve this, and what, where am I going, and like it's just never ending. It is never ending. Like people, like I wouldn't want somebody to be in my head and have to. It's tiring. It is tiring. It is never ending sometimes. And I'm not okay with sitting on the sofa on a Saturday for an hour or two. I just feel like I've got this anxious feeling in my stomach where I have to be doing something. I have to be productive. And it's this productive, just being a slave to productivity, so to speak. It's like everything that I do has to be productive. It has to be moving me forward, and nothing can go against that. And it's so common these days, and so common for the people that I speak to, because it's like everything in my life is productive. Even when my brother was saying, oh, it feels like everything that I'm doing is, productive, or like aims to be productive, that it should add towards me progressing to something. But he said he doesn't have anything, where he can be okay with not being good at it. Like he was like, I might start a hobby where he was like, might start a hobby where I'm okay with not being good at it. I'm okay with the fact that I'm shit at it, and with no aim to improve. And I was like, but that's another loop. It's like you're picking up another hobby so you can wind down to be more productive. It's like, well, that in itself is actually that's being a victim to the productivity again. Um, and personally, where that has came from, I don't know. I think growing up seeing my mum just constantly going, just without stopping, has probably ingrained itself in me as like a held belief, where I wouldn't see her sit down, and in the event that she ever sat down on the sofa, that within 15 minutes she'd be asleep. It's like her body was so not used to taking that rest. The only opportunity that it got taking that rest, it was like, okay, this is sleep time, and then just falls asleep. And I think that has had a knock-on effect for me, because it's the same with me in the evening or at the weekend. If I'm sitting down on the sofa and it's 8 o'clock, God forbid it's 8 o'clock, like once that clock strikes 9, it's just like I'm ready to fall asleep. I could just easily fall asleep, and I don't even feel that tired, so to speak. But it's just like my body's not even used to sitting down for that long period of time. And it has its benefits, obviously, but it's only going to get you to a certain point. It's like I can rely on my ability to just do the work, like just do the work consistently. But again, I mean, I could just end up just doing the work, and not even taking stock if I like it or not even understanding if I enjoy it or not, and not even feeling like that I'm actually going in a right direction. So for me, the morning pages are just going to be clarity over the next few months. And after April, when I dial back the training, hopefully, when I dial back the training, that I can take even more time to myself and really fill my cup. I am filling my cup, so to speak, but trying to find time during the week is becoming increasingly difficult. However, it's going to have to be a priority for me because I don't see how this could last. With the amount that I take on, it can be quite ridiculous. And it's fucking expensive to work on yourself. Like, I got a voucher for a hub of consciousness place that my mum gave me for Christmas, and 600 dirhams, which is like €150 for 90 minutes of hypnotherapy. It's like, what? The voucher only covers a quarter of that, and she thought it would cover a full session. A third. So I'm just going to try and work on myself outside of it because I don't want to pay someone 600 dirham a session just to hypnotize me. So for me, taking stock, for me, being present and listening to myself and doing that breath work and getting in touch with my body and my mind and my emotions and my stomach because it feels out of alignment, and come back to myself a bit more and try and enjoy the process a bit more, because it's easy to bite down. It's easy to, drive yourself harder, and it's easy to just, if at any point that you're feeling like that you're tired, to just have that internal critic and just shout louder and go farther and go harder and not give yourself a reward every now and again. It's like delaying gratification, but like the gratification is just not coming. It's just more work. You're just delaying it and delaying it and delaying it. And maybe if it was for my own thing, it would feel like it would be worth it. But I mean, there is pockets of enjoyment, but I need to find pockets of peace. I need to find peace and solitude and quietness, and that's all within. That's all here. It's all within me in this very moment in time. You can have the peace wherever you want it to be. And part of me went away during the Christmas and went to Bali to try and find that solitude. But when I went there and it was ridiculously busy, I was like, well, I didn't find the solitude. But the solitude has always been there. It's within me. It's in myself within. So, and it's up to me to dictate and decide when I want to have those pockets of peace. So first thing in the morning, when there's going to be no phone, when there's going to be nice music, it might be at 5:30 in the morning and it's pitch dark outside and nobody is around. But for me, that's going to have to be my time to myself. And the moment in which that I do those morning pages followed by 2 rounds of breath work, it's where it's only for me. It's not for anybody else. And then the general thoughts come back again where I was like, I should share this with other people. I should do my breathwork mornings again, my men's morning. Just like, no, that's you going into kind of, providing it and giving to other people again. So whilst it's important to give and give and give to people like we do at the Run Club, where we give without any expectation of getting anything in return, it's important to give yourself the time as well and take stock and fill your cup and be in the present moment and have that solitude and unload your mental clarity, because then you'll find out what you actually want and where you're actually going and what you're actually enjoying. So and that will trickle into taking enjoyment out of the things that you're doing. And I've really enjoyed these last 2 weeks in the Run Club, as I've said from the start of this podcast. Was those 2 last Run Clubs have been really enjoying, and I've really enjoyed them. And I think it's because I've been more present, and I think it's because I'm living in the moment and taking some time to myself beforehand, and I don't always have to be, the facilitator, so to speak. So bit of a mental unload for me this week, and everybody should also be doing the same. So nothing really real estate related, but I'm of the opinion if you are taking care of yourself outside of work and your life is in order and you're in alignment with who you are and where you're going, then that will have an impact on how you perform on a day-to-day basis. And if you're in an industry like real estate where it's performance based, how you feel is correlated with how well you do. Because if we agree that if you're hungover, that or you're tired or you've slept 2 hours, that will cause you not to be able to do the work, then we can agree that you not being able to do the work will result in you not closing deals, which will result in you not getting paid because you're not getting a basic salary. So the inverse is true. So that if you have slept well, that if you're taking care of your mind, body, and soul, that it will have a positive impact on how you will feel. That positive impact from how you will feel will trickle into, how long you can spend in deep focus work, how hard you can work, and what is your mindset? Is it positive or negative? And having a positive mindset and being able to interact with other people and solve problems and be mentally sharp will have an impact in how well you do and how many deals you close. And that's important in a commission only industry. So I suppose that's the only part of real estate that's going to be related within this. So that's essentially it for this week's episode. 26 minutes, record timing. Again, no super strict format, and if I miss a week of podcasting, that's okay too. And thank you to anybody who's been listening or tuning in, because it really does mean a lot to me. And if any of this resonates with you, let me know. Apparently I say resonate a lot, but if any of it resonates with you, just let me know. And come down to the Run Club if you haven't already. If you're listening to this podcast and you're in Dubai and you haven't been to the Run Club, then I've nothing to say to you. You despicable human. And no, I'm joking. But if you're listening to this podcast, then you're more than welcome to come down to the Run Club. You don't have to run. You can just come down for a coffee and a chat and meet some other people, because we can have a chat, but you'll have a lot of chats with other people too. Other people who are similarly aligned in the same situation and position as you, striving for greatness, striving for more, trying to push themselves outside of their comfort zone. And maybe if you're listening to this and you haven't pushed yourself out of your comfort zone fully. So thank you to anybody who's been listening, and I'll see you in the next one.